Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Circle of the Earth Fellowship. For those coming back from our earlier episode that we did about the debate review of the Dean Odell and Greg Locke, welcome back. For those just joining us for the first time, welcome, dear brothers and sisters. We got another exciting episode for you today, and this time we are going to be talking about currency. And of course, in our upcoming future, we have FAKE², which is why this name is episode that, but we'll get into that a little bit later. And like always, we're going to take a little time to say hello to everyone who joined the panel tonight. We'll go ahead and then we'll go ahead and get a testimony from our dear brother Hunter here, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the show. So welcome, everybody. We'll jump over to we're gonna save you for last, Hunter, so you can kind of say your introductions, and then we'll get into your testimony. So we'll jump over to you, Marcia. Welcome, sister, to another episode. Oh, you're muted.
Oh, I am?
Now you're good.
Oh, I can hear you.
Okay. Anyway, hello, everybody. Glad to be back. And we've got another topic here. Currency. Digital. That's coming up. But
yeah, like if for those that saw the thumbnail, which most people watching did, you know, I kind of had this like green digital with the gold flowing down into this, you know, with all these mainframes and kind of, you know, the gold basically being sucked into the digital. And so I think that's a great picture for kind of what we're showing, because they even created the, you know, the language around that for it to be what it is. So, of course, we'll get into that, but let's jump over to our brother, Robert. Welcome, brother.
Hello again, Marcia, Vader, and the rest of you. I don't know how much I have to offer today. I do know that I keep watching and hearing everybody wanting to scare me into buying gold, booze, and bullets. So, I don't know, man. Scary stuff sometimes.
Right? Yeah, it seems like today you're being offered a whole bunch of different color pills: the red pill, the blue pill, the black pill, but no one ever wants to talk about the white pill, right? Where we have a God that's over us, that is, you know, supreme over all, and so His will be done. So we'll get into that, of course, and jump over to you, Kyle. Welcome to another episode, brother.
To be here, everyone. I'm sure this is a topic everyone can relate to on their day-to-day lives, so let's get to it. Awesome.
Yeah. Yep. And we got so many different parts to cover, so I'm excited to do so. All right, Frankie B, welcome, brother. Hope you're doing well. What would you like to say?
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Let's get the currency flowing, babe.
The Karen C flower. It almost sounded like you said Karen C.
yeah, it did.
Hello, Karen.
Shout out to Karen C.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, welcome. And last but not least, we got a newcomer to the table, Hunter here. So Hunter, welcome. And then I'd like to ask you a couple questions as we get into your testimony. But if you'd like to say a brief hello, please do.
Hey guys, it's great to be here. I just enjoy every single one of these shows, so I wanted to join in and be a part of the panel tonight. And maybe I'll have a little bit to offer, but it's good to be with you guys.
Indeed, brother. We're happy. We're always happy when we got another fellow brave believer to come join the show and share their pieces of the puzzle with the family. Sweet. All right. Before we get into your testimony, I want to do a little quick housekeeping. I'm going to share this so y'all can just follow along. And then we'll get into your testimony, and then we will get into the meat of the show. So let me pull that up. Bear with me. Which one? Here we go. All right. First of all, shout out to Chris and Liz Bailey over on Take on the World. They give us the opportunity to come onto their platform and share our pieces of the puzzle with their family and community. So we always want to show them some love. They have 786 videos, guys, so there's so much stuff out there. And even though you may not agree exactly with everything that's on here, the only time you'll find someone that agrees exactly with what you believe is if you're looking in a mirror. So always have that humbleness and that that place where you can listen to different views and still be humble and love each other as brothers and sisters like we are. So that being said, go check us out. And of course, if you aren't subscribed, we're past we're actually at 1111 right now, which is kind of weird. But so thank you to the new recent subscribers. We appreciate that. Again, if you haven't checked out the debate video we did, the review that we did earlier, go check that out as well. And as always, we like to read from the last episode, so not the debate one, but the previous named episode. I like to read some stuff from it. For those that didn't get the special Easter egg, we got the special blood required at the gate. So only special blood is allowed in their 13 ringed command. But anyways, we have Moonglow saying thank you for connecting some more dots for me. Our pleasure. Thank you for supporting the channel with that comment and those thumbs up. They really do help. Over on the Circle of the Earth Fellowship, we got some gravy from Deep Holes. He said, they said, another fantastic episode, and just quietly, if the presenter of this channel is not Torah Apologetics equivalent of Stephen Wright, I don't know who that is, to be honest, then I'm a three-headed rooster with a male and female very unusual and entertaining sense of humor, Vader. Respect the channel. It is a growing. Thank you, man, for that love. We really do appreciate that. So thank you to those commenters. It does help. If you want to join the after show or just the community over on Discord, there is a link in the description. Check it out. If you'd like to support the channel, we do that through merch. You get something. I get a little kickback from that. Yeah, so I didn't do this to make money. I spend way more money than I ever have received. But at the same time, it is a hobby for me and a place for us fellow believers to come together and get to share our pieces of the puzzle. So go check that out. Great resources: Bible Hub, Bible Gateway, Bible Hub, Sacred Texts, and definitely check out the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees if you haven't. Great additional some scriptures that we have been withheld from us. So definitely worth checking out. All right, sweet. That is
one more thing.
Yes.
Did you give the Sefer away?
Let us do that. Well, let's see. We're at 18 right now. So
just was curious.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about doing it on a live stream. Maybe let's do that with Sean, because then there are a lot more people will be there. Or I don't know. I don't think I can do polls. I wish I could do a poll and just ask chat, like, do you want to do it now, or do y'all want to do it on when we?
They can ask chat, and they can put in ones or twos, yes or no.
Oh yeah, that's true. So 1, if y'all want to roll it tonight right now, or 2, if y'all want to roll it when there's more people. So
like John's thing.
And I'm going off of Take on the World and off of Circle of the Earth. So let me know what y'all think. But before we do that, at least let's jump back and get Hunter's testimony, and then we'll kind of move on from there. So stop sharing. Sweet. All right, Hunter. Well, so you're pretty new to the Circle of the Earth. I've seen you in other places and other live streams. So of course it's a pleasure to have you here, brother. And so yeah, we like to, when someone joins the table, we like to get their testimony. And of course, this can be as in-depth or as shallow, as long, as little as you would like to share. But anything you're led to share, we'd love to hear it. And then kind of your life up to where you are now. And then we also on this show regularly will ask, what was your proverbial straw that broke the camel's back when it came to your transition from a heliocentric model to a more true earth biblical cosmology as well.
Mhm.
So the floors are yours.
For sure. Thank you. And thank you for having me again. So my name's Hunter. I was born in Arizona, Gilbert, Arizona. And I had a pretty normal life up until I was about 10 years old. Then, like the 2008, 2009 financial collapse happened. And as now that we know, now I know a little bit more about that and know it was probably intentional. But unfortunately, my father lost his job. During that time, my mother also had a C-section, and she lost like 6 liters of blood. So I think they gave her a blood transfusion, and I think that she contracted like 4 autoimmune diseases from that. So unfortunately, she is very sick. But I mean, it's just progressively got worse. And also, during that time, so because of her autoimmune diseases, she was prescribed opioids. And unfortunately, she became hooked to those. We were regular churchgoers. We went to a Trinitarian non-denominational church here in Gilbert, Arizona. And also during that time, my dad pulled his plantar tendon in his foot, and he was also given some opioids from doctors, and unfortunately, he got hooked as well. And then quickly, unfortunately, we lost our home. My dad lost his job because of the financial collapse. He worked in the semiconductor business, and they let him go. So life quickly changed. We moved over to Georgia, where we stayed with my grandparents, and my dad couldn't find a job out there. So we quickly ended up moving to Tennessee, and my dad found a good job there. Unfortunately, my mother, she wasn't functioning as well as my dad was, as far as when she was hooked to drugs. So she became kind of like a zombie, and I'm not saying any of this to disrespect my mom or anything like that. This is just my story. I love my mother, and she's a great mother. So, um, unfortunately, it got to the point where I would come home from school, and my brothers would be in dirty diapers, locked in their room. Stuff like that. She didn't take them out, for Halloween, so we just went with my dad. And sorry, I'm a little shaky. But anyways, the my dad, my mom was really absent, and my dad ended up cheating on my mother with another woman. And she just my mom ended up finding out, so my mom took us back to Georgia to stay with her mother. And I started having problems in school. I would get ISS a lot, and eventually my grandparents got sick of that, so they sent me to live with my dad in Tennessee. And really all I had that summer was a radio and and some TV, I think, a little bit. I didn't really have any friends around there, so it was kind of lonely because my dad would go out and do whatever. I don't know, like try to get his drugs or whatever it might be. Um, so I got sick of that, and I ended up calling my uncle, who was a U.S. Marine, and I asked if I could live with them. And so, I moved in with my uncle, and there's a lot of little things between there. Like, we moved around even more than that. There's just little details that I kind of don't remember that well. And so, I moved in with my uncle. I would get calls about my mom having overdoses or intentionally trying to kill herself at one point. Which was, heartbreaking for me as a kid. Especially, I mean, even now, but she's better now. So thank Yahweh that she's doing a lot better. I got same phone calls about my dad overdosing or ending up in the hospital just because taking too many drugs, and it was just really sad. I ended up moving in. I think back in with my mom. She went to rehab, and kind of, and and I ended up moving back in with her when she moved to Arizona, and there were just problems all over the place. Like, my little brothers had behavioral problems. It was a disaster. I didn't want to be home, so I would, go try to hang out with my friends. And my mom didn't like that very much because I wasn't picking good friends. And so after that, I mean, she would call the cops on me and stuff when I would bring weed home or whatever it might be, like, um, you know, uh, little things. I mean, she would find a pipe or whatever and call the cops. And so I got used to juvie. At one point, she just was done and wanted to give me up. And luckily, I got a good public defender, which is, I don't think, words that go together, but it happened. By the grace of Yahweh, and she defended me. She helped me out. She got me into a group home. I stayed there for 45 days. It was not fun. I was the only white kid there. And so the problems just kind of continued until I turned 18. I met a girl and moved out. And shortly after that, after I moved out, even though I was a kind of a punk, I really had helped my mother out a lot with my little brothers. It So, I moved out and moved in with a girl, and it quickly devolved. She ended up abandoning my little brothers in mental hospitals for 9 months, and that was something I was unaware of. My girlfriend actually worked with my mother at that time, and she didn't tell me about it, and that kind of caused trust issues and stuff. And that relationship kind of slowly became, it just ended up not working out, for multiple reasons. But my addictions and stuff like that continued to get worse, just because of, I I I was angry with the world. I was angry with God. I didn't want to. I was rejecting His word and His wisdom. And even though I was raised up in it, I saw what my parents did, and the examples that I had in life were just not very good. So I ended up going down a deep, dark hole. And you know I was the type who could function pretty well. I ended up getting good jobs in construction. I worked my way up and became a project manager for a few pool companies, and then a home remodel company. Um, so I had money, and then uh, you know time went by. I was cut off from my little brothers for like 5 years. So that was devastating to me. I think that's really what broke my heart the most. And I ended up, after COVID and stuff hit, I lost my job, um, doing project management, and quickly lost my apartment, things like that. I ended up homeless for 4 months, in the not in the streets, but I had my car and I was living in my car. And in Arizona, if you know anything about Arizona, it's super hot out here. So that was not fun. But really when I turned to God and Christ again was when I was on a project to build a baptistry for Compass Christian Church out here, and it just something told me, start going back to church. So I dove back in like I do with everything else. I dove head first, and I just ended up asking a lot of questions, and a lot of questions weren't being answered the way that I thought they would be, or there were workarounds or contradictions and stuff like that. So what I did, I started searching for things. I had Telegram at the time, and I was into a lot of the Q stuff and conspiracy theories, and I got into a prayer group called Patriot Prayer Warriors or something like that, and someone recommended to me Uncommon Ground. So I was like, I was like sitting on it for like probably 3 weeks to a month. And I decided, I was like, what do I have to lose? I'm bored, So I went and checked it out, and I think, the first episode that I watched it was either the Antarctica one or Where's the Curve? And just just the demeanor of Sean and Wes, just the way they lay scripture out, the way they break down the facts, and they test everything. I really appreciated that, and I respected it. And although they were quoting books that I was unaware of and wasn't familiar with, they never contradicted the Book of 66 that I knew. And so I started diving into more of Sean and Wes's shows and their videos, and I just fell in love. I mean, it was an amazing it's just been an amazing experience since then. I've been able to put down my addictions. I've been able to my sexual immorality, I've been working with God on getting, rid of those things, and as we all slip and fall sometimes, right? But I've been able to gain control of those things, and I wasn't able to do that ever by myself. And it really took a lot of prayer and a lot of asking people for help, and asking, the this community has been just a huge blessing to me. I mean, like more than you guys know. It's just been so great. So here I am. Thank you again for having me. You guys are amazing, and I just want to say thank you. That's a kind of Cliff Notes version of my testimony. So I appreciate you guys listening, and we can get to the show. You're muted, Vader. Or
Marsha's viewed it too.
I'm
We
just
both
so
did it.
happy for you, Hunter. I'm glad that everything has worked out, and they're rejoicing in heaven too.
Oh, yeah.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah, and there's so many parts of your story that I can relate to, and something that kind of spoke to me was, the traveling around, the moving and stuff. I pretty much was in between Texas and Washington State my whole life. My parents moved there and then back and then divorced and then back. And then I moved with my dad and my stepmom and then back with my mom. So I had a whole bunch of that same type of style. And definitely when your parents are separated, when you're, when a kid at period, there's a lot of kind of things there that are underlying that really, you can't really quantify in a way, but with all that trauma that happens in all of our lives in the unique ways, in many ways that happen to us individually, there's kind of two ways you can take it. You can take it as a victim, or you can take it as a conqueror. And we are more than a conqueror through him who loved us, right?
Amen.
Since nothing can separate us from the love that is in God through our Christ Lord. So that being said, it's like when we come to these certain truths, like you had said that you had always been, a believer, and I don't know how, you said you kind of fell away from that. And I feel like a lot of believers do in a lot of these ways, even the ones that you described, because, at least what is presented in our modern, Christianity, is you're forgiven. It doesn't matter like what you do, it's forgiven. And so, past, present, and future. So if that's the case, then it's okay if I do these things, because one day, I'll know better. One day I'll know the difference. And while that is true, that is also a victim shield. It's like saying, oh, this is at fault, not me. So I love the fact that, you kind of started, as you shared, you started saying, no, I'm not a victim to these things. The Father has these things in my life to draw me closer to him, which it's done, right? The way that you have found to be a conqueror is through him who loves us. So it's so awesome, dude. I really appreciate you for sharing that. And I know it can kind of be daunting to share it to any number of people, let alone, people live. So I appreciate your courage.
I would more than happily come back on your show and give my full testimony. I'm actually writing it out right now because I'm working through a lot of my traumas as we speak.
Nice.
So, I'll come back on and give the whole thing when, and I won't be so shaky.
Hey, can I say something to you, Hunter?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Time flows through us. You're always in the present moment. But the problem is that we live in the past, or we're constantly wanting the future. If you stay in the present moment, your future will come to you, and your past will always be behind you.
Right.
So just stay focused on the present moment and know that time is bringing your future desires to you. Yah will bring everything to you. So don't be anxious for nothing. Just be grounded in the present and just continue to do the work that you're doing, and continue to just, be sober sexually, be sober minded, and just live in the present moment and create the life you want. God has given us the ability to create the life we want. He wants to bless us with all heavenly blessings. So there is nothing you can't do. There is nothing that he doesn't want for you. So your desires are given, the divine desires given to you by him. So just stay in the present moment. Don't be focused on the past. The past is behind you. And just know that the past is always behind you.
Yeah, sometimes people want to get out of the struggle where they kind of miss the whole point of the struggle in the first place. Those, that is all set up for you to prosper, to overcome. And of course, we ourselves get in a way, and we get in our own way quite often. But yeah, brother, we'd love to.
How was that?
Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
Oh, I was going to say, how's that old adage go? If you got 1 foot in the past and 1 foot in the future, you're pissing on the present.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, Kyle, I heard that today, actually. So. Yes,
Sink.
sir.
Sink.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why that's exactly why I'm dealing with it, and that's why I'm addressing it, writing it out, talking to people, and then I can shut the door on it because it's done. And well, that's what made me who I am. And without those things, I
Exactly.
wouldn't be here today. So I'm
Yeah, Paul said, "I count all things in the past as dung."
Yeah.
yes.
So just live
So,
by that.
yeah, absolutely. So, all right. So, the little cherry on top. So you mentioned kind of under uncommon ground and kind of dabbling in that. What was that proverbial straw, that like last thing or that big thing that just totally changed the way that you look at the world around you?
I think it was the fact that the Bible teaches a flat earth, and and it's, if we're going to believe the Bible, we need to believe the whole thing starting in Genesis.
How dare you? How dare you?
How dare
And
you?
the fact that you can go back to the Hebrew, you can go back to the Greek, and you can understand the exact definitions of these words within their context. And Sean and Wes do an amazing job, testing that all out. And even myself, like I'll check things on them too. When they say something, I don't just take their word for it all the
Amen.
time. I go look for myself, and the firmament is real. So
How dare you again?
You're not going to convince me what the Bible clearly says.
Exactly, Rob.
Oh no, we got a clip of him.
All right,
awesome.
Sweet brother. Well, thanks again for being here. Let's get into it. So I'm gonna pop. Oh, wrong button. I'm gonna pop up screen share. And which one is it? It is, I believe, this one. Go live. I gotta pull it up on my side so I can navigate through it. Perfect. All right. So let's start out with. Go back here. I'm going to start out with some of my stuff, and then we'll get into the because a lot of people are more current. But I just wanted to talk about what money really is. So, and we're going to get into currency, the connections of that word to banks and streams of revenue and liquidation and all those connections. We're going to dabble in that for sure, in that gravy. But I just want to this is, of course, we're using Wikipedia. We're not saying we agree with everything Wikipedia says. We actually like to use their own, information to show you what they're doing and what they believe, and, out of the horse's mouth. So anyways, this first part is numismatics, which is the study of collection of currency, including coins, tokens, paper money, metals, and related objects. Specialists known as the thing are often characterized as students or collectors of coins, but the discipline also includes the broader study of money and other means of payment to resolve debts and exchange goods and services, as should say. The earliest forms of money used by people are categorized as collectors as odds and curious, and the use of these goods in barter exchange is excluded, even where used as circulating currency, e.g., cigarettes or instant noodles in prison. As an example, the Kyrgyz people used horses as the principal currency unit and gave small change in lambskins. The lambskins may have been suitable for numismatic study, but the horses are not. Many objects have been used for centuries, such as crow shells, precious metals, cocoa beans, large stones, and gems. And then, so the etymology of the word is first ascertained in English in 1829. The word comes from the adjective meaning of coins. It borrowed in 1792 from French, whatever, itself a derivation from the late Latin. Okay, I'm not going to get through all those words because I'm going to butcher them all. Anyways, let's go to the history of money. throughout its history, money itself has been made to be a scarce. So just throughout history, money itself has been made to be a scarce good. Okay, although it does not have to be. Many materials have been used to form money, from natural scarce precious metals and Crowley shells through cigarettes to entirely artificial money called fiat money, such as banknotes. Many complementary currencies use time as a unit of measure, using mutual credit accounting that keeps the balance of money intact. The modern money, and most ancient money too, is essentially a token, an abstraction. Papal currency is perhaps the most common type of physical money today. However, goods such as gold or silver retain many of the essential properties of money, such as the price of fluctuation and limited supply. However, these goods are not controlled by one single authority. Okay, so let's stop there for a second and kind of talk a little bit through this. So I just want to note that in the very description of money itself, it literally says is made, has to be made a scarce object. Well, it says it doesn't have to be a scarce object. Well, for the very essence of what money is, what the, as it says, abstraction is it's not really anything, right? You can use objects to symbolize currency, and we see this throughout many different civilizations, and we're going to look at that here in a minute, of this certain thing. Well, one thing that it says here is it says modern money is essentially a token, an abstraction. Paper currency is perhaps the most common type of physical money today. Okay, so the physical money that we have today, guys, is a tool. It is an abstraction. It is not a real thing. And actually, banknotes.
Promissory note.
Yeah, a banknote is debt. Money. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I have cash." Well, cash is debt in the system at the micro level. It is a part of the machine. And so we all have a piece of this tool to work in that machine. It goes along with what we were kind of saying earlier before the thing is, render unto Caesar's what is Caesar's. This is the world system. We are in that system. We are not of that system. And so right here from the beginning, guys, it's fake. So as the title is description, fake squared, we'll get into the squared part, but we're starting from the base point that money is fake. It is an abstraction. We got Robert right there with the monopoly money, no different than the cash bills that you have in your wallet or purse, if you even have cash or wallet there, as most people don't. Some people do, most people do not. So of course, the very first level of money, guys, even the connery shells and cigarettes, so all of this is just an abstraction. It is a way, it is almost an illusion that we all believe in to make the system work. Okay? So again, from its inception, it has no, for instance, I'm not opposed to people buying gold and silver and having some of that stored as wealth. But let's say something crazy happens, the end of the world, as all these black pill people would have you believe. Who is going to trade their, pound of beef for a gold bar? Right? Are you going to eat that gold bar? Are you going to change it into a bullet? No, there's very limited use for something like that. But that's obviously always what's being prescribed. But at the same time, right, it's like it does hold wealth. And I'm pretty sure those that are in the Great Depression thought that the world was probably coming and ending. All throughout our generations, we've always thought it was the end times. And no man knoweth, not even the Son, only the Father. So that's not even something that we even got to think about, though we should be prepared for it. That being said, I have a list real quick, and I just want to share this with y'all. Nothing fancy. It's basically, here's a list of throughout all the history, and I'm sure there's even more of this that aren't in here. Is a list of coins. So civilizations, nations, countries, peoples have gone through the changing of currency all throughout history. And if you see here, we got China. We have all these different types of money to our, our cash of China now, right? Nothing changed. They maybe the currency changed, maybe the item, the token that they're using to identify that money has changed. But what hasn't changed is the use of currency as an abstract tool for society. It is in the world, guys. So, I know there's a lot of people that are black-pilled in with the possible changing to the central bank digital currency. And I know that a lot of people link it to, the buying and selling, those that don't have a mark. And we're totally going to get into that, but this is like a white pill channel. We're talking about, hey guys, you don't have to be afraid, because greater is he who is in us than who is in the world. Why fear those that can destroy our body, but not the one who can destroy our body and our soul? And why give our obedience to a system as opposed to our obedience to the Father who created all this from the first place? So, just to show y'all guys, currency has changed over time. The token has changed over time. And civilization as we know it is still continuing. And remember, that most of these are gold coins, silver coins. But again, it's an abstraction, guys. The people in the 1920s, the people in the 1800s, and back, what were they going to do with the piece of gold? They were going to use that as a token to give it to someone else. Maybe the individual who would use it for jewelry, or but then at that point, right, you're buying it in bars, not in coins. So so again, nothing's new under the sun. They're going to keep giving us currencies. They're going to keep changing as the changing of nations and powers and governments as that happens. It's definitely not anything to be afraid of. All right, so this is a pieces, we call them, a little short that I did at Circle of the Earth Fellowship. My beautiful wife, the Mrs. Vader, voice over it. So we're gonna listen to a little about this, and then we're gonna watch a video about it a little bit more in depth. Go check out this video and the other shorts if you haven't, and please show them some love and get them out there. But let's go ahead and check this out real quick.
In November of 1910, a group of rich men met in secret to discuss what would become our current financial system. During their stay at the Jekyll Island Clubhouse, they crafted legislation that would later be signed into law in 1913 by former President Woodrow Wilson. After the plan had succeeded, Frank Vanderlip was quoted saying, "I was as secretive indeed as furtive as any conspirator. Discovery we knew simply must not happen, or else all our time and effort would be wasted. If it were to be exposed that our particular group had got together and written a banking bill, that bill would have no chance whatever of passage by Congress." President Woodrow Wilson would later go on to say, "I am a most unhappy man. I have unwittingly ruined my country. A great industrial nation is controlled by its system of credit. Our system of credit is concentrated. The growth of the nation, therefore, and all our activities are in the hands of a few men. We have come to be one of the worst ruled, one of the most completely controlled and dominated governments in the civilized world. No longer a government by free opinion, no longer a government by conviction and the vote of the majority, but a government by the opinion and duress of a small group of dominant men."
Hopefully y'all enjoyed that, guys. Check out the other ones if you do. But yeah, most of y'all know and have heard, or if you haven't, we're glad to share it with y'all. About the Jekyll Island, 1913, these men met in secret to come up with what is our current financial system of the, what fiat into now what we have is fractional reserve banking. And so, in a lot of ways, people want to blackpill it and say, we need to get rid of the government. We need to get rid of this thing. And That is very so much the Hegelian dialectic where they have caused these issues. They are a part of these issues. And it's almost as people are begging and praying for these digital currencies to come in to save us from all of the troubles that fiat has caused us. And so, and of course, to go along with the symmetry, our country, of course, is controlled by the Federal Reserve, which is no more federal than Federal Express, FedEx. But they have that name patented, so they must be a part of the government. But we're gonna look a little bit about this group's kind of inception and what they brought to this world, and so this is over on BitChute on Dynamic Para 007's channel. And we're going to check this out for a minute and talk about it after. So join us.
Said, who would be crazy enough to build their house on top of a blood sacrifice altar? He said, well, Rockefeller was.
I'm here in Jekyll Island, Georgia, one of the most mysterious places in the country. Some call it the Bohemian Grove of the East Coast. This island also holds secrets that are key to unlocking why the world is the way it is today. Behind me is a place called Indian Mound, which is actually home to the Rockefellers, and I'm here investigating a mystery that most people have never heard before. This mystery has been shrouded in secrecy for almost 100 years.
Jekyll Island is where the Federal Reserve banking system was birthed and conceived. And at one time, when it was functioning in the 1900s up to the 20s and 30s, some say 1/3, some say 2/3 of the world's wealth would vacation on that island. Mm-hmm. It was the highest conglomeration of wealth in a single place very often anywhere in the world back in the turn of the century. So it just seems like a little island that's not anything significant at all now, but it's amazing to see the financial side of the history of that spot. And so I'm sitting there looking at some of the things that he's telling, and just thinking about some of the things he's telling me. We went out and walked around, and he showed me some of the cottages that had been restored, and the club itself, and the tennis courts, and they had a pier where the boats would come up, and he's just kind of showing me the grounds, and then we go to the museum. And he's talking a lot about the financial stuff and the guys that built it, and each cottage was, marked and named. Some of them had been restored, some of them didn't exist anymore, but they had like a sign that this is where this one was, and that one was built by J.P. Morgan, that one was Rockefeller's, and, that one was... they had each one of them named. Well, they're all kind of native names, and then they're all got some kind of plaque on who the financial mogul was that had built them. And they're not really elaborate, luxurious mansions. They're just simple cottages for the most part, which was kind of interesting to know that the richest people in the world built them, and they were very low key and almost like a cabin in the woods instead of a luxurious house like you'd expect. And they all had Indian names. So I started asking him about the Indian history of the island, and he lit up. He just was like, that's what he really wanted to talk about, because he loved the Indian history. And so he takes me back to the museum, and he said, we got a lot of stuff on the Indians. He said this was actually like the government main community for a tribe of Indians that don't exist anymore. That tribe was called the Timucas. And I said, well, that's interesting. My name's Tim. And anyway, I didn't know anything about the Timucas. I'm from Oklahoma. I've learned a lot of native history, and I have some native bloodline, but I did not know anything about the Timucas. So I just asked him, please tell me everything that you can tell me about them. There's something about the natives that I feel like I need to know. So he said, well, the Jekyll Island Club was actually built on top of everything that the Indians had. So they just kind of wiped the village out and built a club on top of it. So wherever the chief's house was, there was a cottage now. Wherever the council house was, there was now the Jekyll Island Hotel. You know? And he said everything that's built and visible today is actually sitting right on top of something that was significant in the Indian village when it existed. So he said the fact that this whole place had to go into ruins and then be rebuilt and become an archaeological state park, he said it's actually helped us identify the native history because the club itself had almost erased that. You know? And so I said, well, you know, let's look at the museum. I want to see some of the Indian stuff. So we're looking at arrowheads and spear tips and, you know, just artifacts that they had found and pottery shards and things and seashells that they had had. And he's showing me all their stuff in the museum. He shows me some fragments of a weapon that was like an unusual bow. And when I say unusual, I mean that it was like a double curved bow. And that was a very unusual shape of a bow for a native tribe. I had never seen that shape before with an American Indian tribe. And I've seen a lot of bows and arrows. So I asked him, I said, this seems unusual. I've not seen this before. In Oklahoma, every native tribe, the bows would look like a single bow or just a single curve. I said, this is quite extraordinary, especially as far back as this tribe was. So he said, yeah, we found a lot of weapon-type artifacts that we've not seen with other tribes. And I said, well, how do you know these were Native Americans? Maybe they were from somewhere else. He said, oh, no, they were Virginia because they're well established along the Florida and Georgia coast. And he said, we got a lot of stuff in 3 or 4 states about them, and they were quite prolific at one time. So he said, we know they're Native Americans. I said, well, all right, what else you got? He said, well,
okay, given in context what we're going to soon learn about the tribe and their behaviors, I just want to read this real quick. Fire represented the sun, and the sun was revered as the high being by many southeastern tribes. Interesting. It's almost like...
just like every other culture?
Yeah, every other culture. They have this weird obsession with the sun.
Sun worship, yep.
Got some skeletons. He said, you want to see the bones? And I said, well, yeah. You know, that sounds... You don't get to see a skeleton very often. I said, are they where we can actually see them, or are they buried? He said, no, they're visible. So they had a burial site that they had been very respectful for when they built the museum. When they found a burial site, they didn't move the bones. They left them where they were, and they just uncovered them to where they were visible, and then they built the museum on top of it. They did basically the same thing with the museum that the Jekyll Island guys had done with their houses. They put a piece of plexiglass over the burial site so you could see it, but they were still trying to respect where the bones were. And
how's that?
And so I'm looking at...
We're going to respect this dead person's bones by putting them so everyone can see them. We're not moving them, though. We're just putting them on the display for everyone. Silly. All right, let me skip a little bit on this.
He said, we found other skeletons and parts of bones out in the grounds, and he said, we've got pretty good evidence that nearly all of them were extraordinarily tall. And I said, well, how do you explain that in relation to other tribes on the Atlantic coast who were not? He said, I don't know. It is an unusual anomaly. He said, oh, by the way, I've got a painting that you might want to see. It's actually the copy of the original. We've got it under lock and key. But he said, I got a painting that actually shows the Indians from a group of French colonists that came to the United States before it was the U.S. This was right after Columbus. He said that it was the first colony of French folks that came over to try to establish a colony on the coast. And he said they landed in Jekyll Island, and they had some interaction with these Indians, and then they got so appalled by what they saw and witnessed that they fled at night and ended up in San Augustine, Florida, and established that city. So I said, well,
did you hear that, guys? He literally said the French guys stumbled upon this tribe, and they were so appalled by the behavior of this tribe that they literally fled by night to go somewhere else because they didn't want to establish it anywhere near these people. So in this picture, you see that this guy is a bit taller than this Frenchman. Now, we don't know the heights of them, but I do something that's interesting is look at them. They're all like on their knees, and it kind of looks like they're praying. And then we got this altar with wreaths, with food and stuff in front of it. And then we got the, I can't remember the French name for the symbol, but we got 3 of them, and they all symbolize the Trinity. So kind of interesting there. And the fact that they're sun worshippers, another kind of interesting thing there.
I've seen these maps and other pictures of these native people, and they were cannibalistic also.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else? Definitely gotten them eating some unclean animals.
Yeah, they do. They have people and legs hanging, human legs, in other pictures like that.
And you know, the cannibalism may not be something that's out in the open nowadays, but the main practices of, you know, a lot of the practices of these cultures still exist.
Oh yeah, they're doing it, and they're
Very much.
They're doing it in LA. They even have a
they're doing it in mansions. Yeah,
yes, strangulating and drinking their blood.
Yep.
Nothing's changed. And as you can see here in this picture, they're not all clean animals. There's a snake and an alligator in there.
And look at this. This is definitely not some type of dog or canid.
Yeah.
In those pictures, you'll find chimeras of some sort, but also cannibalistic, very cannibalistic.
I know some that had log houses or high places or worshipped, you know, nature in some way, or had totem poles.
One
that
second.
Kind of stuff. But this one.
What, love?
Make the picture bigger on the screen. It's little.
Oh, sorry. Fixing this for my wife.
And Vader Bear, let me know if we get to. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Let me know if we get to secret societies and their impact on money.
Yeah, well, we've already talked about secret societies. You can definitely bring that up because, as we've been saying through this whole kind of second season, is all this is interconnected. That's why, like, we're talking about giants and cannibalism and weird stuff, but yet this is the currency episode. So, I'm working on getting all these links so that y'all can go check them out on your own. But what this basically goes to talk about is the group of people on this island. And as you kind of saw here in the beginning, I'm going to play that part again.
I said, who would be crazy enough to build their house on top of a blood sacrifice altar?
So what this basically goes on to tell you guys is that these top people, the very house that they created the Federal Reserve, was in a house that was built upon a blood sacrifice altar. So
Beast of Jekyll Island.
Yep.
And the creatures of Jekyll Island.
If you guys don't think that stuff still exists today, look behind me, because right in the city I live in, there's temples to false gods. There's secret societies that look out for each other and get jobs for each other, and if I wouldn't doubt that there's sacrifices that have happened in that building. So I was nearby, so I wanted to kind of bring that up and show you guys it's real. It's so real that they'll erect a temple in the middle of a giant city. So
Yeah, so it's kind of funny you saying that. Is they recently, in the city that we are built, they built a LDS temple, and every single time we drive, it's pretty far off, but you can see it for miles. Anytime we drive in,
Yeah.
I'm in the car with my wife. She's like, "Gosh, that thing is so creepy. It's like just this big idol in the middle of a valley, and there's nothing we can
Yeah.
do about it, And it is what it is. But like, go to what's culture. Go to Washington, D.C., you have all these monuments and all these statues of men and beasts and blah, blah, blah. And it can seem just like culture, but it's really culture, if you feel me.
Yes, sir.
So that leads right into this. Let's watch this clip real quick, and we'll kind of talk about it.
In your book, the Creature from Jekyll Island, what is the Federal Reserve, and what is your answer?
Well, what it is, it's a cartel. It's not a government agency. It has the appearance of it being a government agency, and they went to great lengths to give it that facade. It does have the power of government because Congress voted to give the power of enforcement to it. But in its essence, underneath it, it's a cartel. It's nothing different than a banana cartel or an oil cartel or sugar cartel. It happens to be a banking cartel. They got together, they drew up the rules and regulations for their own industry, to self-regulate their own industry is what cartels do, and then they sent it to Congress, and they took off the label at the top that said banking cartel, and they erased that, and they said Federal Reserve Act. Congress passed it into law, and that's why we think it's a government agency, is because if you don't obey the rules that they set down for their own industry, you go to prison. And so it looks like a government agency. But basically the answer to your question is it's a banking cartel.
So, exactly right. This was on Kill Illuminati 13420's channel on BitChute. Good little snippet there, and that's exactly what it is. This is a gang, this is a cartel, and there's nothing new. Now, like I showed with the currency, how much you want to bet that each of those currencies pretty much went along with the current person that was in power. And as the current people or person is in power, right, changes, so does the currency. And we see this with the heads of the Roman coins as an example, goes from one Caesar to next Caesar to the next Caesar, and there's always changes in denominations and the currencies as a whole. Again, often paralleling the power that it is associated with. And so specifically about the Jekyll Island and what happened, well, of course it's tied to pagan things. Of course it's tied to these men that we've all heard about, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and all that jazz. But there's just a good little snippet to show you that that's why they did it, because they defined the rules of the game that they created. But what I feel like often people want to do is they want to get rid of that. And I get it, guys. I'm not saying it's not corrupt. I'm not saying there's not issues with the system. But if we use history as an example, whatever they replace it with is in no better, as often puts you in a worse position than you were in the first place. Very much like the Civil War, right? We went from a certain group of indentured servitude, regardless of color, were quote unquote slaves, where they said, you know what, we're getting rid of involuntary slavery and we're introducing, thank you Abraham Lincoln, for voluntary slavery, where if you choose the system, if you be a part of the system, you do become that slave. You do become that indentured servitude to the thing. But the offer that we've been given, right, is, at least in America, isn't as bad as it is in most countries. But of course, there's always gravel. There's always dark, shady things. And so Frankie brought this up. This is really on his heart about this topic. We're gonna jump over to it, and then we're gonna talk to Kyle about this whole idea. So this real quick. This is I'm not sure, Frankie, if this was the exact video, but this is the one that Kyle thought of when you brought up this topic. So we're gonna quickly watch this 5-minute video, and then this is at Infomatic Films. So go check them out. But yeah, let's go ahead and watch it, and we'll go from there.
The government. It loves you and wants to keep you safe and well. It even wants to make paying taxes, fines, and court costs easier for you.
Oh, thank you.
How? Well, you'll need to meet your straw man. He was born the same day you were. He looks like you, has the same name, and lives in your house, but you never knew he existed. You will have even paid his parking tickets or taxes. The worst part? He's been dead from day one. From every birth certificate, a legal personality, or legal fiction, is created with the same name to confuse little old you into thinking it's you. So, there is a human you and a paper you, or as it's commonly known, a straw man. So when it seems like government officials, court clerks, or the police are speaking English, they aren't. They're speaking legalese, designed to make you agree to verbal and written contracts without even knowing about it, all spun from Black's Law Dictionary. For example, when the police say, "Do you understand?" you'll say, "Yes." What they are really saying is, "Do you stand under our authority?" Oops-a-daisy, you just created a verbal contract with them. Oh, you clever government. Did you know that whenever you register something, you are handing over title to the person you register it with? That's right. Whenever you register something with the government, they assume it belongs to them. Registered your car? Super! Now you are the registered keeper of your vehicle, and the government can crush it when you don't pay your, straw man's taxes. Expecting a new bundle of joy? Well, then you need to register your little darling with a birth certificate. Then they can start the process all over again and create a new straw man for your little one. Isn't that great? So when Junior grows up, he'll be able to generate revenue just like you have. When you notify on your baby by signing the birth certificate, your child becomes a ward of state, and if the government doesn't like what you're doing, they'll assume it's okay to take the child away, or make new rules for things they don't like. Not enough school? Smacking your child? Shouting too loudly? Then it's off to social services for the little one. When you get a bill, it's sent to you, but belongs to your straw man, not you. That's why bills, fines, and summons start with Mr., Mrs., or Ms. Sometimes you'll see your surname in capitals, just like on a gravestone. That's because your straw man is dead, and just a silly piece of paper, created before you could comprehend or even consent to it. When you go to court, you represent your straw man, so you, the human, take on any costs, fees, taxes, and fines involved for the straw man. The human you doesn't even need to pay them. But you made a contract with the court by appearing on behalf of your legal personality or straw man, just like the government knew you would. Confused? Well, don't worry. The government doesn't want you to know anyway. If you knew, you'd stop paying things like council tax and parking tickets. Because when you go to court, you are representing your straw man. You are you, alive and made of flesh and blood. Your straw man, or legal personality, is a piece of paper created from your birth certificate. And you think it's you. What a silly Billy. Would you like to know more? Well, then go over to tpuc.org. Get up, get informed, and get real.
Hey, I got a question about that. Hey, and when you copyright something, is it the same thing? Hello? Can
Good
you hear
question.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm not sure. That very well could be.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that either. One thing that I think that is, I really
Well, I
love.
copyrighted it in the straw man's name, so
Yeah, it's interesting. Like you're kind of handing it over, and so this is. I love the style. I love that little info film. It was really cool, and very very sarcastic in some of the statements. But one thing I want to kind of say about this is very, to me, very black pilly. Like, hey, you were just giving over yourself and your child to the government, right? So don't get your child a birth certificate. And we were talking about this earlier before the show, where they have all of this language. They have the legalese, and they have you have a birth certificate. A birth is of the ship. The afterbirth, after you birth the ship, meaning you put it in the water, you have all the materials and parts that were left over from the construction of the ship. The afterbirth, and people would claim that afterbirth for the material, possessions or parts that it was. And so we're talking about currency, right? And boats travel on currents. We have of course, a bank. We have liquid assets. And so this goes all over the place. And I want to kind of let you rant a little bit about this, Kyle, about this topic. And of course, anyone else can jump in after. But real quickly, I do want to say, guys, that even though, like, again, we are supposed to be in the world, not of it. And so don't view your child's birth certificate as you playing into that system, right? Like, that is a part of the system. If I want my child to not be taken from me, there's some things that I have to do to make that happen. And of course, no one wants to kind of talk about the other side. They say it's all bad, right? But what if someone is abusing their children? Shouldn't the government have the ability to come in and remove those children? Now, I can talk about CPS and the evils and the bad things that they do, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of these systems that are in place help us in a lot of ways. And it would be, nightmares to deal with otherwise. Not saying it's all good, but I'm definitely, guys, it's obviously not all bad. It's not all just black pill. So thoughts, Kyle?
Yeah, I'd say back in the early 1900s, there was a drastic change to the way our economy functioned, the direction of our country, and I think it was planned to go that way far before that. But when people started giving up their gold and silver under threat of law to the U.S. government so they could receive their promissory notes, it changed not only the currency scene, but the way the courts actually conducted law, and the laws themselves changed to where things were generally set under a common law standard, where the rules basically were considered, as long as you don't harm or injure someone else, kill them, infringe on their rights, or steal from them, or damage any of their property, you haven't necessarily broken any laws, because there has to be a victim party to contest against you in the court of law. But since we have become essentially corporations under their eyes, they can have the state of, Utah, Nevada, whatever, bring up your legal fiction, and you have to represent yourself as them. And they have strange things in the courtrooms where the judge will sit 33 degrees above everyone in the there'll be a bail bondsman and a bailiff, and they'll wear the black robes as if they're priests. It goes down to the Bar Association, the British Accreditation Regency firm, where they, in order to practice law, you have to basically
pass the
sign your
bar.
allegiance. You pass the bar and sign your allegiance over to the British Accreditation Regency, which is
And
a standard. Go ahead.
Real quick, to pass the bar, right? Like a sandbar, you would have to go past the sandbar to get into port. So go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, and exactly right. And there's even implications to that when you're in the courtroom, because there's something called the bar there, and there's those two doors that open up. And when you pass into that, you're now essentially going on no longer on neutral ground. You're now on in a legal country, I guess you could say, because they're practicing under maritime law. So now you're essentially on their ship. So unless you reserve your rights before you step into that, you essentially have none. And so that's why whenever you're called up in a court case, you have to step beyond the bar up to the podium to speak, because you have to step into their jurisdiction. It's a very tricky game of grammar and language that they play, where words don't necessarily mean what we understand them in the legal language. It's why lawyers have to go to college and get all these degrees to practice what they do, because it's not just as simply as reading the words on the page. There's separate meanings to everything that's applied in it.
Yeah, it's
so like, I think it's
like a self-induced brainwashing. They have to be able to think and see the world in a completely different way.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yes, and it's strange how a lot of the things line up. Like when a person is born or birthed, it's like a ship. A ship has to be birthed in a dock. A doctor. They have to provide a certificate of goods. A birth certificate. It's there are certain language in it that mirrors the commercial what is used in the UCC, the Uniform Commercial Code, to govern all nations and countries in commerce. It's all mirrored in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's and you like what that was like, the skimming the top of the actual topic. That's the tip of the iceberg when it comes to that stuff. And they can make all these crazy weird games where they assign numbers and values and all this stuff and all their silly ways that they do. And yes, these systems exist. I'm not naive to say that they're not. I'm actually showing you, yes, these systems exist. But again, it's not something that we should fear. It's not something that we should, think that we almost deify these groups and these people by saying or believing that they have the control over our lives that they do. Guys, I have 4 children. None of them have ever had a job. None of them have ever, minus my son's circumcisions, have never gone to the doctor unless it was like a broken bone, or if you feel me, an actual emergency. So I don't have people kicking down my doors taking my children. I don't have because they don't like what I'm teaching them. I live in Utah, so there's many blessings from homeschooling. But that being said, it's like they're not supervised. They didn't send someone to watch over what we're teaching our children. And so as much control and power that it seems like they have, because they've created all these silly elaborate games of theirs, doesn't actually give them power, guys. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
It literally shows you how big of these gamma control freak psychopaths that they truly are. And it's like those type of people you don't need to fear, because what's the worst they could do us? They could kill us. That's the worst, right? Why fear them who can only take our body but cannot take the soul? like the Father. So I'd rather be obedient to him unto death, as opposed to have fancy pants and lollipops and go along with their shenanigans. But I'm in their shenanigans, right? I can't get away from their shenanigans. You know, I can't go live in a national forest and them not come, you know, take me out, you know. So they have these laws for a reason, and as much as bad as they are, guys, anything that would replace it is going to be much worse. So just don't be so quick to wish them gone. I'll say it that way.
Real quick, Vic.
Yeah.
You know, I have a little bit of experience with that. You know, I've met a lot of people who have had their kids taken, as well as, you know, my parents, when they were fighting with each other, you know, once they separated, they would call CPS on each other just to, you know, just to get at each other. And obviously there's things that can be improved in the system.
Oh yeah.
And we're not going to be like this. We're in this society, right? We're not in ancient Israel. So, you know, I think at the end of the day, like if we were in a different society, maybe, you know, maybe having the elders of you know, of our nation or whatever, or of our area, right, making these decisions would be a good thing. But I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately.
Well, we know that's going to happen when the Messiah comes back and we have the 1,000-year reign. We're going to be going out there and helping those children and helping those families and ministering to them and, you know, doing greater things that even the Messiah has. Yeah. Yeah.
Amen.
We know when they claim peace, that's when destruction's coming. So
that's right.
They are far off the mark. It's like he's gonna go left, and like as soon as he says that, the person goes right, and it just shows you how wrong they are to the millisecond they were wrong. But yeah, we got some more videos and stuff to share, so we're gonna go through these. This is from Kyle. You got we are about to abandon the traditional system of money and accounting and introduce a new one. So let's check this video out real quick and we'll talk about it.
What underpins a world order is always the financial system. I was very privileged. My father was an advisor to Nixon when they came off the gold standard in '71, and so I was brought up with a kind of inside view of how very important the financial structure is to absolutely everything else. And what we're seeing in the world today, I think, is we are on the brink of a dramatic change where we are about to, and I'll say this boldly, we're about to abandon the traditional system of money and accounting and introduce a new one. And the new one, the new accounting, is what we call blockchain. It means digital. It means having a almost perfect record of every single transaction that happens in the economy, which will give us far greater clarity over what's going on. It also raises huge dangers in terms of the balance of power between states and citizens. In my opinion, we're going to need a digital constitution of human rights if we're going to have digital money, but also...
Okay, let's this is a great video. It goes along with something else that I wanted to share. So I'm going to switch over to that one real quick, and then we're going to come back to this one. Right here.
No, still alive?
So I'm sorry about their stupid stuff, guys. But yes, we're still alive. But this is, for those who don't know, this is just a quick explanation of what the blockchain is from the horse's mouth.
Many people think of blockchain as the technology that powers Bitcoin. While this was its original purpose, blockchain is capable of so much more. Despite the sound of the word, there's not just one blockchain. Blockchain is shorthand for a whole suite of distributed ledger technologies that can be programmed to record and track anything of value, from financial transactions to medical records or even land titles. You might be thinking, we already have processes in place to track data. What's so special about blockchain? Let's break down the reasons why blockchain technology stands to revolutionize the way we interact with each other. Reason number one, the way it tracks and stores data. Blockchain stores information in batches called blocks that are linked together in a chronological fashion to form a continuous line, metaphorically, a chain of blocks. If you make a change to the information recorded in a particular block, you don't rewrite it. Instead, the change is stored in a new block, showing that X changed to Y at a particular date and time. Sound familiar? That's because blockchain is based on the centuries-old method of the general financial ledger. It's a non-destructive way to track data changes over time. Here's one example. Let's say there was a dispute between Anne and her brother Steve over who owns a piece of land that's been in the family for years. Because blockchain technology uses the ledger method, there is an entry in the ledger showing that Adam first owned the property in 1900. When Adam sold the property to Dave in 1930, a new entry was made in the ledger, and so on. Every change of ownership of this property is represented by a new entry in the ledger, right up until Anne bought it from their father in 2007. Anne is the current owner, and we can see that history in the ledger. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Unlike the age-old ledger method, originally a book, then a database file stored on a single system, blockchain was designed to be decentralized and distributed across a large network of computers. This decentralizing of information reduces the ability for data tampering and brings us to the second factor that makes blockchain unique. It creates trust in the data.
Ooh.
Before a block can be added to the chain, a few things have to happen.
Trust in the
A
data.
cryptographic puzzle must be solved, thus creating the block. The computer that solves the puzzle shares the solution to all of the other computers on the network. This is called proof of work. The network will then verify this proof of work, and if correct, the block will be added to the chain. The combination of these complex math puzzles and verification by many computers ensures that we can trust each and every block on the chain. Because the network does the trust building for us, we now have the opportunity to interact directly with our data
for giving
in
us
real
something
time.
we can trust.
And that brings us to the third reason blockchain technology is such a game changer. No more intermediaries.
Sorry, that was
Currently,
deleted.
when doing business with one another, we
Sorry,
don't
that
show
part
the
of the
other person
blockchain
our
was
financial
deleted.
or business records. Instead, we rely on trusted intermediaries, such as a bank or lawyer, to view our records and keep that information confidential. These intermediaries build trust between the parties and are able to verify, for example, that, yes, Anne is the rightful owner of this land. This approach limits exposure and risk, but also adds another step to the exchange, which means more time and money spent.
Oh, how dare you.
If Anne's land title information was stored in a blockchain, she could cut out the middleman, her lawyer, who would ordinarily confirm her information with Steve. As we now know, all blocks added to the chain.
We got to go back here for a little bit, because this is how they do it, guys. They slip in this stuff. I don't know, though, maybe some people recognize it or heard it, but let's go back here just a little bit. Right here. Okay. Nope, a little bit more. Okay. So, I think a little bit more, sorry. All right, let me.
And that brings us to the third reason blockchain technology is such a game changer. No more intermediaries.
Okay, so the goal, the great thing, the superpower of blockchain is there's no more people in the middle, right? So less time and money, right? We got that.
Currently, when doing business with one another, we don't show the other person our financial or business records.
Oh, so privacy. You maintain privacy on what you're doing. Okay, let's see.
No.
Instead, we rely on trusted intermediaries, such as a bank or lawyer.
Banks and lawyers both have to, regardless of the system. We talked about the banks and where they started from, and we talked about lawyers and their shenanigans and grabbles, right? They still have to go by the law. What happens if a bank misappropriates funds? What happens if a lawyer does illegal things? There are consequences for those things. Okay. So we're trying to get rid of anyone that could get consequences of it. Oh, well, let's see.
To view our records and keep that information.
So Our intermediaries, the ones they're trying to get away from, right? They are a trusted source because they view our records and they keep them confidential. They don't just tell everyone and the other party what that information is. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, but you're keeping things in secret. Well, it's like, do you really want to show any person or government entity all your records in every place you've ever spent money? Of course not. You want to keep things confidential for many reasons. But
confidential. These intermediaries build trust between the parties and are able to verify, for example, that yes, Anne is the rightful owner of this land.
Okay, so the intermediaries, they take our information, they keep it confidential, and they use the system to then verify that indeed she is the owner of the land. What are they trying to do? They're trying to get rid of that middle person that keeps it confidential, that keeps your records, confidential, and get rid of that. Okay, well let's see what else they got to say.
And this approach limits exposure and risk, but also adds another step to the exchange, which means more time and money spent. If Anne's land title information was stored in a blockchain, she could cut out the middleman, her lawyer, who would ordinarily confirm her information with Steve. As we now know, all blocks added to the chain have been verified to be true and can't be tampered with, so Anne can simply show Steve her land title information secured on the blockchain. Anne would save considerable time and money by cutting out the middleman. This type of trusted peer-to-peer interaction with our data can revolutionize the way we access, verify, and transact with one another. And because blockchain is a type of technology...
Sorry, we can't find your
information. It can be implemented in many
you're going to have
different
to come
ways.
back at another time.
Some blockchains can be completely public and open to everyone to view and access. Others can be closed to a select group of authorized users, such as your company, a group of banks, or government agencies. And there are hybrid public-private blockchains too. In some, those with private access can see all the data, while the public can see only selections. In others, everyone can see all the data, but only some people have access to add new data. A government, for example, could use a hybrid system to record the boundaries of Anne's property and the fact that she owns it, while keeping her personal information private.
Buying and selling private
everyone to view property records, but reserve to itself the exclusive right to update them. It is the combination of all these factors, decentralizing of the data, building trust in the data, and allowing us to interact.
What are they decentralizing?
Directly with one another and the data.
They're like, hey guys, we're bringing all the systems. Excuse me. We're bringing all the systems into one decentralized, centralized area.
Decentralized, centralized.
Yeah. We're all centralizing this information so it can be decentralized.
Yeah, right.
And no more intermediaries. No, guys, does this not remind you of the Georgia Guidestones where it says get rid of petty officials, petty and useless officials? Right? Get rid of those middle things. We don't need those. We can get, our computers to do this.
Exactly. We go straight to the source.
Yeah. And it's like another funny kind of thing that they brought up. We're not going to watch this anymore. But another funny thing that they brought up was they're like, to verify the blockchain, there's this puzzle that has to be solved. And then once it's solved on one computer, it's shared to all other computers. Mm-hmm. Who created the puzzle? Did the computer program that was programmed by a human create it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, then what's the point of solving it? I mean,
AI is watching everything in the woods. Who's watching AI?
All right, let's jump back to this video. We're going to watch this for a minute and keep chugging along.
This new money will be sovereign in nature. Most people think that digital money is crypto and private, but what I see are superpowers introducing digital currency. The Chinese were the first. The US is on the brink, I think, of moving in the same direction. The Europeans have committed to that as well. And the question is, will that new system of digital money and digital accounting accommodate the competing needs of the citizens of all these locations so that every human being has a chance to have a better life? Because that's the only measure of whether a world order really serves.
Shalom, everyone.
Oh, so what you're saying?
This is Ty Green.
So what you're saying is, if we have a digital currency, then everyone's life is going to be much better, right? Probably because they'll give us free money if we get that new jab, or if we get 1,000 walks in after going and getting ourselves a Mountain Dew. You know, it's like.
And then also take it away if you don't do exactly what they say.
Oh, how dare you? Are you a conspiracy theorist, Marsha?
I am. I'm sorry, I am.
Sweet. So yeah, it's that lady, man. It's, you know, I do really want to quickly say though that the digital currency, guys, it's coming, but it's not this Mark of the Beast thing.
No.
We'll get into that. Let's go ahead and watch a little bit more of this video, and then see what Ty Green has to say about this.
All know that at some point that the currency will transition into a digital form. The dramatic change that Dr. Pippa spoke of at the World Government Summit may even surprise her. One may expect that the transition into this new system of currency will be orderly. Yet, when this transition occurs, it will not be orderly. It will be a dramatic change indeed. The current system is going to be reset. We don't know how exactly, although we do have some good theories, right? We know this is coming. Let's take a look at how Scripture says it will be during the time of transition into this new system.
I gotta say, that guy was so handsome. I don't know what y'all think, but oh my god.
Oh, Klaus?
Cream of the crop.
Oh man.
Which includes
You will eat the bugs.
digital currency.
What was that?
I said you will eat the bugs.
No, you will eat the bugs.
You will eat the bug, you robot polishers.
Currency weaved in. Let's go to Daniel chapter 7. This transition will not be orderly. Something drastic does happen, and when it does, it will collapse the old system and a new one erected. The prophet Daniel and Apostle John spoke of this new government described as a beast, and we know that governments have a form of currency.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about that earlier, how like, oh, quinkadinkly, each currency, each coin goes parallel with the power, you know, of a person. And while I do agree with him that this is a part of the beast system, of course, they've been working on that since they introduced the gold coin, right? Like, but at the same time, and this, I'll get into this a little bit later. My eschatology, my view of how this is going to happen is I personally think we're going to have a digital currency. It's going to go on. And of course, I always come back to Revelation 9, the first woe, the fifth trumpet. I believe that's going to be the real change, because regardless of how it happens, at least in the way that I view it, I think that makes sense, because all these systems, they can't just implement them all at the one time, and they can't implement them at 100% at any point. And so they have all these systems, all these beasts, all these heads that need to get to a certain part for them to really take control. But those systems are based upon the beast, right? The son of perdition, right? Apollyon, Abaddon, and he has to be here for him to create the image of the beast, to then create the mark of the beast, which will be the, everyone will be forced to take it, regardless of your position in the world. And so, and so I'm not so as black pilled to believe that as soon as this digital currency comes, that is somehow a mark of the beast. Are they going to have more control? Yes. Are they going to have more information? Yes. But guys, think about all the information and control they have right now. Think about the fact that all of us most of us have a smartphone, right? Have a computer, have these devices, these things in our homes. And if they wanted to, they could get that information. What are they going to do with all that information from the millions and hundreds of thousands of people? So they have a computer where someone wrote how an AI, artificial intelligent, which is very artificial but not intelligent, and they somehow make sense of that. And so there's all this black pill within this community, within this topic, very much so. And I feel like people are so quick to judge this new currency as the mark of the beast. Now, again, I think it is going to be a part of the system, no different as the render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, right? Yeah. This is nothing new.
No.
Yeah, and really that just the beginning of that clip was what I was mostly focused on anyway, because a lot of this splits into the Roman Catholic Church, seven heads of the beast. Yeah, not all theology I necessarily agree with.
Totally, yeah, and we don't have to, but there's definitely the very parts of truth in what that brother was sharing. Yep. Sweet. Let's jump over to this other video. This is the AI blockchain. Do you have a port? I'm sorry if you had.
I put a marker on the link that said what time to start it to and what time to end it to.
Okay. Pull that up.
Let me find it.
Not pull it up. It's fine. It'll give me a second, and I will.
2 minute and 37-second mark.
2 minute and 37.
It's the New World. Is that the one you're on?
AI blockchain connection.
Oh.
Nope. It's 2:11 mark.
2:11.
And then just play to where the guy stops the interview.
Okay. All right. Sweet. Let's check this out. Check this channel out, The Truth is Stranger in Fiction. I believe his name is Matt. He does great videos.
William.
I often have to not watch the visuals because they kind of are a little crazy, but he has a great thoughts that he shares. So let's check this out.
What I want to discuss is artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, an overview of what is the blockchain, why is it so important to cryptocurrency and artificial intelligence. You're the first person to tell me you can't have one without the other.
This.
Yeah. And that's very interesting.
So the blockchain is essentially a system solving problems.
Yeah.
And every time it solves a problem, it gets a block.
Okay.
Like a building block for a building. So essentially it's not really mining coin, it's building blocks for a digital reality. The only reason cryptocurrency has a monetary value is to make it important to humans so they build the machines.
Well, to run them.
It's designed to do all that stuff and to get you, the consumer, to offer your computer to do it on behalf of the bank.
Got it.
There is the platform, is the centralized platform that controls it. So if the platform were to get hacked.
But I haven't heard anyone before our conversation earlier today link artificial intelligence to cryptocurrency.
That's because they don't understand transactional systems. Okay, so for an AI...
Did you come up with this, or have you heard anybody else talk about this link?
No, I could show you the cryptocurrency that the AI made to make this all happen. It's out in public on GitHub. I was the 10th person in the world to fork it.
GitHub is a website where people share open source code.
It's where all the code in the world is stored, pretty much.
Wow.
So and GitHub was funded by the Kushner investment group.
Really?
And then the original creators of Bitcoin are kept anonymous, so people don't find out who made it. So if you do have a problem, you
can't call them.
You can't call them.
But there's other reasons why they want to remain anonymous, aren't there?
There is. That's because the value added to Bitcoin in day 1 to year 5 was all criminal activity. So whoever made Bitcoin is the person who has the ledger that lists all the massive criminals around the world. Now the dark web is infiltrated by criminal activity, which is the reason Bitcoin is at $7,000 and no one understands why, because the dark web is bombarded with criminal activity that's raising the price.
So let's get to how cryptocurrency is tied to artificial intelligence.
Okay, so blockchain or cryptocurrency is a transaction database that you can't delete from. Okay?
Well, I mean, considering we don't know who this Takeshi Nakamoto is, or if he's even
the delete functionality quite possibly is one of the options for the backdoor in Bitcoin, because it's a database that doesn't have delete. So if there's a super admin somewhere that could delete transactions and remove money, that would be a pretty.
I mean, that sounds like a very good reason for people not to trust it. We don't know.
That's why if people get into it, one of the things they have to understand as they get in.
Didn't that lady say that it was trustworthy? Didn't that lady, when she was explaining blockchain, say it was decentralized when he literally just said it's centralized? Weird. It's almost like legalese, where they say one word but they mean the complete opposite.
Exactly.
Legalese. That's legalese for true.
Yeah, that's truth.
Yep.
Trust.
Into it, once they buy into it, they also have to become a social motivator for regulation. Like, we need to know who wrote Bitcoin. We need to see his face.
Well,
we need to know where he went to school. We need to have a trust basis with the person who built the system that might be running
I feel the same way.
Running our future economy. That's the first step. So he's some secret programmer in the Bitcoin community that all the elites know.
How does that not leak out? Maybe it's a...
That's the whole point. Maybe it's an AI.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that things that you were saying to me earlier led me to believe that you might feel like Bitcoin was actually created by artificial intelligence.
And here's why.
Say that again, because I stepped on it. You say it was.
I believe it was.
Bitcoin was created by artificial
intelligence, for artificial intelligence, and then was modified by human beings. The technology, I've not been able to find a single person in the public space of computing, whether it be at Hanson Robotics building the Sophia AI, or it be Peter Thiel at Palantir with all of his super nerds, or it be any person who graduated from Stanford in the last 20 years. I've literally only found maybe 2 people in the entire world that have the skill to write Bitcoin.
So the AI singularity occurs, and this AI will control financial resources.
Yeah, and then you can go see its code now at singularitynet.io. They just released it this week, their white paper. And
should we look at that?
Yeah.
Exactly, Kyle. It's only central bank digital currency that's decentralized at the central bank.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, we can look at that.
Singularitynet.io. Yeah, I'll bring that
and it's
up.
run by the people who
singularity, like all in one place.
Quick question, Vader.
Yeah, what's up, brother?
Is it the same Kushner, like the guy that that married Trump's daughter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jared Kushner.
Yeah, the same daughter that he fantasizes about awkwardly.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, Trump is just another puppet on the puppet show.
Yep.
All right, let's finish this out.
Built
and then
the Sophia
we've got
robot at Hanson
Robotics,
Robotics, so it's a real enterprise grade. Sophia just got Saudi Arabia citizenship, so they're going to... Yeah, this robot just got citizenship for Saudi Arabia, so they're going to be running their crypto out of Saudi Arabia citizenship. And
wow.
So the robot got citizenship, they revealed their cryptocurrency, and yeah.
How does a robot get citizenship? A female robot gets citizenship
you got to
in
be
a
a
country?
citizen to get a paycheck.
Huh.
And pay taxes.
So what is it that you feel Saudi Arabia is up to by getting engaged with this?
They're democratizing androids to accept income so they can be workers.
Look at that.
Oh, so it's like they're going to give a birth certificate to a dead entity of a robot to then act its Guys, this is, like, to me, it kind of, like, if you were to describe this to someone, I feel like you would be describing what a necromancer would do, right? We're talking about dead raising you money, making you money. It's kind of weird. Yeah, so there you go, right there. Some connections between currency and AI, which I feel like is a great video for that in between, because we definitely are going to be talking about AI not next week. Next week we're going to be having Sean from Kingdom and Context on to not only talk about the KIC virtual conference, but also get some updates on his other projects he's working on, like the Days of Noah series. Maybe get some Lighthouse information, see how that's going. So we're super excited to talk to Sean
and baby Levi,
and get some information about how our sister Lindsay and our new brother Levi are doing. And so I hope y'all are excited for that. That will get posted tomorrow. So please go show that some love so more people show up. But yeah, let's we're already kind of at that time, but I do want to show a couple more videos. We're going to go through some of these shorts that Marcia shares with us and talk about them, and then go call it a night. So let's see. We got Cash is probably one of the most private. Let's see what he got to say.
Be very clear that we shouldn't think of this as digital cash by any means. Cash is probably one of the most private, if not the most private options that we have. A CBDC is not going to offer that same level of protection because of the way it's set up, being on a digital database. To be very clear that we shouldn't think of this as
this is the most private.
Well, this is something that's really interesting to kind of what we were talking about earlier before the show, is we were talking about how people are, so scared of quote unquote digital currency, but they're paying with their Apple Watches, at the store. They are using Cash App and Venmo. They're transferring, they're paying all their bills online by just sending digital currency. Well, that digital currency is actually digital cash. That's what we have right now, guys. The fiat, the dollars, that is a material, physical representation of a digital system that they've already had since the inception of the fiat
credit
currency.
Card.
Of all of that stuff since its very inception, we've been dealing with digital cash. Digital cash is no different as saying a non-material token, right? It's an abstract thing. That's what we have right now. And so he's separating this. No, don't think of a digital currency as digital cash. It's actually a whole separate thing, because with our digital cash right now, you can go take those digital numbers, make them into material objects, and go trade those material objects with anyone that you would like. And with the digital currency, that's not possible, as we learned with the the blockchain. That information, those currencies, is transferred to that new block with that new data tied to who bought it for what and when and how and all that. So
right, with cash, I mean, think about it. Even babysitters that you hand cash to, that's gonna be gone. That's under the table, type stuff.
Now it's Cash App.
Digital.
Yeah. Well,
Cash App.
Or Cash App, right? And
I don't use Cash App. I use cash.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying a lot of people, for the convenience of these things, already are using a digital cash. What they're trying to move us to is
the security
currency.
The security of it too, because whenever you have to do a hand trade with anything, and you can just pull it up on your phone and go, yep, it's in my bank, I'm good. People are going to go with B. They're not going to go with the first option.
Yeah, exactly, indeed. All right, let's see what this man has to say.
That's not the plan. The plan is the central bank digital currency. You will have crypto. You will have a digital wallet. It will be directly from the Federal Reserve to you. And there will be no little retail banking. That just won't happen anymore.
All online.
Oh, of course.
No more brick and mortar in 50 years?
I mean, no. You just use it like you use Venmo now. Use the same way, only you'd be connected to the Federal Reserve, to the central bank. Now you've been completely morphed into where they want you to be.
Yeah, guys, they don't want the banker who can say, hey, this transaction is illegal. You can't do this. They don't want there to be any oversight into their grabbly. They want it to, they say it's going to be open in public. Yeah, that's for the open. They even showed you some can be private. Some people can write to it. Only some people can view it. This isn't freeing revolutionary. This is a revolutionary that is tightening the net around the catch.
Oh yeah. They want control.
And like he said, where they want you.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're gonna make it so incentivized, guys. They're gonna say, eat at Chipotle 3 days in a row and get 10,000 extra points, right?
Take a little booster and you'll probably get more.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did you take your FLU shot? Well, if not, here's a way to get an extra bonus paycheck, right? Are you in one of the victimized classes of society? Here's some extra money for showing your support on on social media. Oh, you said that you don't like that part of society? We're going to have to take some of that money out to support.
Just like they do in China.
Yeah. Yep, and we already heard about them linking the AI, linking the social credit, linking the digital currency all together. Yeah, they get turned on by the fact of those things. All right, let's watch this.
You might have heard of something called the G7 Summit. This is where the world's leading countries with advanced economies come together to talk about nothing short of how to rule the world. Canada, France, Italy, Germany, Japan, the UK, and the US. You can think of this club as sort of like the cool kids club where all the seniors hang out and not everyone is invited, which is why another club was created for all the other kids, the BRICS Summit. Think of this club as the junior varsity edition of the G7 Summit. Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They represent the world's leading developing countries. At the end of June this year, they came together, and on the topic of discussion for the 14th annual BRICS Summit was the creation of a new monetary system, which means that soon we could be seeing the creation of a new world reserve currency. And the problem with that is that it's going to challenge the global dominance of the US dollar. You might have heard of...
Okay, the only, a lot of the things he said were true and right on. I get it. But one thing that I kind of want to also bring up to people is, even if they switch, guys, to the digital currency instead of the digital cash, I honestly believe still cash is not going to go away. There's many reasons why it can't happen. One of those reasons is the current currency that many nations owe as in debt to the United States corporation is in cash dollars. So if at the very least, the cash dollar will be a thing until that debt from all the countries, which is most of the countries of the world, pays back that debt in the dollars, because the contract was written for United States dollars. So even
there has to be, right?
What?
There has to be a somehow.
Yeah, well, if they do a reset, right, then crazy things could go on. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like, to me personally, I'll totally accept the L if I'm wrong, but I honestly believe this type of paradigm shift, it could happen. We've seen it happen in the past. I already showed examples of that. But I feel for like something this big, I feel like this is either going to happen right before, but most likely right after Revelation 9. That's just my
not to mention, there's always going to be people who will trade their goods and services for something in return that will go under the books and not be, recorded by. They're not omnipotent. they may be able to put cameras everywhere and have AI track everything that's going on, but they literally can't have control over everything.
And maybe this is a bad example to use because I'm not equating us to criminals, but it's kind of like and I guess I'll actually contribute it to God. It's like, even though evil actions happen, the our Father, who is in heaven, uses that for His will. So it's kind of like how criminal, like let's say, police started wearing soft body armor, and then the robbers, the criminals, they got 44 Magnum. So then they had to go to the next step of armor, and then the next step of armor, and then the next step of bullet, and that kind of, racing to the top or the bottom, however you view it. And so to me, it's like it's that same thing, right? It's like they insure money, but if money gets stolen from a bank, when that money's insured, doesn't that money that was stolen just all of a sudden show up now in their bank account? But that money that was stolen is still out there. It's not worth less any amount of money, right, than it was originally stolen for. So all the people, of course, during these transitions, they always profess the good, the good of this revolution, but they never express the bad, and the bad, of course, is horrible. And we've been talking about this, but again, I'm not offering you a black pill, guys. If they offer the currency and that's what we have, that's one thing. If it's attached to taking a mark of the beast, right, that's a whole separate thing. But I do feel like people, definitely within the truth community, have this Russian roulette of always saying there's a bullet in the chamber and pulling the trigger, but nothing ever really happens, this big extravagant thing. And I think that can cause a lot of believers to actually, kind of turn back, because they're like, man, these people keep feeding me with fear and fear and fear and fear, and these things never happen. So I'm not even going to pay attention to it all. And guys, we're supposed to be watchers on the wall. We see these things, but that doesn't mean we freak out. That doesn't mean we lose our compass and start just the pirates are coming. The pirates are coming. And freak out. We use this information and this knowledge so that we're not destroyed for a lack of knowledge. We don't then turn it and make it into our own destruction by deifying them and making them, they're gonna have every bit of control. Guys, even if they get this digital currency through, which eventually they will, it's nothing to fear, guys. It's nothing to to run into the woods about. I think as believers, and if we are diligent in our relationship and in our walk with the Father and in our Messiah, then we are going to, and we're in the Word, we're going to see these events coming. And He gives us very good, kind of key moments that we should be able to recognize when this stuff is actually taking place. So there's a whole bunch of stuff we didn't get to go through. Guys, I'm still working on a good way to show this. I don't want to do it in a cheesy way, so please and thank you for your patience as I get that kind of dialed in for not only the past episodes, but for the future episodes. If you didn't check out the previous episode that we did actually today about the debate review, it was very enjoyable. We got some laughs, a good little meme out of it as well. So just remember, he's a Bible guy. And but yeah, so let's go ahead and close it out. We'll go ahead and say our goodbyes and call it a night. And we'll get to the after show. Again, if you are interested in joining the community within Discord, you can check the link in the description. Click that, sign up for an account, join us, and even join us for the after show if you like. But yeah, without further ado, we'll go ahead and say our goodbyes, and we'll call it a night. So I'll start with you, Hunter. Thanks again, brother, for joining us, for sharing, that cliff notes of your testimony of your walk in life. And brother, we love to have you. You know, we get amplified, we get that fire relit in our hearts, and when we see new brothers and sisters coming to the table, willing to share, you know, the ups and downs of their lives, to share the where they triumphed and where they've fallen. Because that should be, as for all of us, a testimony, fruits that we can view to keep that fire ignited. So again, thank you, brother. And if you'd like to say goodbye to the people, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Vader. I appreciate all of you guys. Just remember, stay in prayer, stay in the Word, and just keep it moving. I know things may seem daunting with all this new technology, new currencies, but our Father has our back, and He won't forsake us. So just keep it moving.
Amen to that, brother. Sweet. We'll jump over to you, Marcia.
Oh, am I there? Okay.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody. And it's great as always. And love your testimony, Hunter.
Absolutely. Sweet. And Robert, brother, thanks for joining us again as always. I know you were sitting back learning a little bit, and I know that you kind of expressed before that all your kind of in this community, you've been seeing a lot of black pills shoveled your way. Buy this before it ends. Buy this. Get this. You'll need this. And you know, I hope the picture that we kind of painted here on the show for you today is the exact opposite. That, you know, it's good to be prepared, guys. I was an Eagle Scout, so I have no problem with being prepared to have those bullets, to have those band-aids, and maybe some bars of gold. But at the same time, none of those are going to save you. The Father, no man can extend his life even 1 minute. So it's all in the hands of the Father regardless. But I know that was kind of a long build-up. But Robert, thank you, brother, for joining us.
Yep. So I've been walking this with Yah for since '92. Been listening to various radio programs, lots of prophecy teaching radio shows, and the end of the world is tomorrow, and they're going to take everything, the money. You got to get your gold, got to get your this and that, and all this kind of stuff. But you know, God is good, and whatever happens to this body is what happens, and there's a better tomorrow. So
we need
always keep the focus on that.
Amen to that. We need to get a clip for "Strike Me Now, Strike Me Down Now, and I Shall Become More Powerful than you can ever imagine." We need to get that for a sound bite, because that I think that, at least for me, pretty well is on the spot. But sweet. All right. Well, Kyle, as always, brother, it is a pleasure to have you. I love picking your mind when I get the chance and having these conversations. But as always, if you'd like to say your goodbyes, brother, the floor is yours.
Absolutely. Hunter, awesome testimony. I hope to hear more from you. Obviously, we'll stay in touch. As everyone else, fear not. In the future, it may be, a quart of wheat for a denarius, or in this case, a quart of wheat for a Fed coin. But they can. Fear not the person who can destroy the body, but he who can destroy both the body and soul in Gehenna. Thanks for everyone tuning in. Have a good night.
Absolutely. And last but not least, we got our dear musician Frankie B from Born Out of Time. Brother, if you'd like to say your goodbyes.
Fear not, only believe. That's what I got to say. All things will be right with the world because Yah is in control. We're performing Dig Deep this weekend coming up, so I won't be on the show next weekend. It's the first time we performed it in a long time, so just remember to dig deep. The truth is out there. You seek and you shall find. You knock and the door shall be open. Ask and it shall be given. Always have hope, faith, and love. And Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and let's go, baby. Start spending some of that currency you guys are all making. Big fuckers. Have a great weekend.
I may have heard that wrong, but...
Did I hear it wrong?
I'm not sure, but
I'm not sure either.
Bucks. He's got the Bucks behind.
Oh,
Bucks.
Bucks.
Okay.
I apologize.
No, that's what I thought I heard.
Yeah, I think it was just like the in between. But no, it's all good, brother. I know that's not what you said. That's why I knew I heard it wrong. But
hey, and
oh, go ahead.
Thanks for bearing with me while I was on the road. I know I've just been popping up in different backgrounds, but
it's all good, bro. We're glad that you could join us. All right, sweet everyone. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe. That all really does help the channel grow, guys. And if you don't have any money, you don't want to get a t-shirt or a mug, no worries. A comment, a like, a share, subscribe, guys. That really does help the channel grow. Any type of interaction like that. So please do as this little banner says. It really does help the channel. But that being said, guys, we love doing these episodes. We're glad that y'all join us for them. And until next time, remember that it was ABBA loved you first, guys. Good night, everybody.
Okay.
What do you mean, okay?
Is it okay now?
It's your glory, conceal the mystery. You give us the honor to search a matter out. You raise up a standard to beat back our enemy. You establish this realm, and like a scroll you spread it out. Dig deep, search it out. Dig deep, seek it out. Dig deep, go on and walk it out. Dig deep, I give you oil to fill up your